Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. We are into the second week of 2021, although we're recording this, in all honesty, in November of 2020, so I'm crossing fingers that 2021 has at least been somewhat decent for the first 2 weeks. I have today Zemi, also known on Instagram as Lady Zemi Cosplay, and she is a local right here in the Central Florida area, just like I am. So I'm excited to have a local person with me yet again on the podcast. Zemi, how are you doing today?
Hi, thanks for having me, David.
I am excited to have you. It's been a long time coming, and I do want to say that you are recommended to me from a previous guest, Brooke, aka Tatted Khaleesi on Instagram, as someone to reach out to. So I just want to make sure I just say thank you to her for the recommendation, because I'm excited to get to talk to you too.
Brooke is such a sweetheart. I adore her.
Yes, that is what I find is like I start finding as like I follow people on Instagram, there's a lot of overlap of of I've recorded with this person and I've recorded with this person, but they share, like they follow each other and comment, and it's always like just fun to see the interactions on Instagram between like just people and the cosplayers and support and positivity and great comments and everything.
Oh yeah, I agree. I live and eat it up.
Now, I do say that whenever I get a person from Instagram, I love scrolling through your feed, and as a cosplayer, I'm always like, dang, like I love what you do, and I just want to shout out, because why wait until the end of the episode when we talk about cosplay to mention like you have a wonderful Cora, a wonderful Miles Morales, you rock as Tiana, Kita as my love of Atlantis lives and dies until, you know, when I am buried in the earth or cremated or whatever happens. Atlantis is like that one hill of I will die on this hill about this movie and how much it needs to be represented more.
Agreed. I will definitely sink with that ship until the day I die.
Absolutely. It is just, we were talking beforehand and I said it was way before, like way before its time, like that. And then there's a few other movies like around it where I think if they had come out 5 years ago, 10 years ago, like we would be seeing Atlantis merchandise and Atlantis figures and Atlantis like bedspreads and everything.
Oh yeah, for sure. And thank you for all your kind words. I appreciate it. Cosplay is really fun, and especially during the lovely time that we're in. It's such a great outlet for creativity.
It absolutely is. Now, being Central Floridians as we are, one of the topics that we have to cover, it's basically mandated if you live in this area that it's like you've got to talk about it. And we're going to cover the entirety of the Disney umbrella. So we're going to cover Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars, all kind of like a lump together. So as the guest, where would you like to start in the magnanimous Mickey Mouse Empire?
Whew. I say we should start with Marvel.
All right. So, for Marvel, are you a comic book Marvel? Are you a TV Marvel? Are you a movie Marvel? Like, how did you get your start in enjoying the Marvel life?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story. When I had moved here from the Caribbean, I started taking piano lessons, and there was a comic book store right next to my piano teacher's music shop. So I used to go there before my piano lessons and just kind of peruse, and Spider-Man was my first comic that I got into for Marvel, and I was lost ever since. I picked it all up and I kept collecting so many comics, and way too many that I needed, and it was just like my treat. So like once a week I would show up early, and then I'd go to the comic book store, pick out a comic, then go to my piano lesson, and then afterward go home and read.
What is it? What was the draw to Spider-Man? But what is it with Spider-Man that keeps you coming back to it?
I think my biggest draw to Spider-Man was majorly highlighted in Spider-Verse, just because there's so many different versions of Spider-Man out there. Like, there are so many, and not only is it just Spider-Man, there are Spider-Woman as well, and then Spider-Man comes in all these different races. Like, the first one I picked up was actually of Miles Morales. So,
Nice.
I was just like, "Wait, is it Spider-Man?" Because of course you see Spider-Man on TV, but I was, like, kind of passing it by it, but I was like, "Isn't Spider-Man not isn't he white?" And then I was like, "Wait, but this is Miles. This isn't Peter Parker. This is a new person." And so, like, I just kind of dove into it, and I was like, "This is so cool that there's so many different universes that we can celebrate of it."
Absolutely. That is one thing that I love. I'm not like the biggest Peter Parker fan. Like
Mhm.
I'm okay with him. But I got into the like was collecting comics in college and through college, and I was lucky enough to be around like when Miles Morales was introduced, and I was like, oh snap, like this is super cool, and I love that they're going in this direction
Mhm.
with Spider-Man's mantle basically being with Miles at this point.
Mhm.
Now it's changed somewhat, I think, in the new Marvel comics. Like he's there, but Peter's there too, and
Right.
but I love the Spider-Man mythos. There's like like you said, there's so
Yeah.
many like different alternate realities and different dimensions, and every dimension seems to have some kind of spider person, and then
Mhm.
there's like future Spider Girl with like his Peter and Mary Jane's daughter,
Mhm.
and it's incredible. And of course, you mentioned Into the Spider Verse, and
Mhm.
holy cow, like that was a movie
That
where
oof.
that's a movie where you like I didn't even know it was really coming out, but then you go and see it, and it is just something that you never expected.
Yeah.
Not only like the animation styles for not only Miles, but like all of the characters, but the music and
Oh, yeah.
the art style that they use is just it's incredible.
I know. I really just wanna take, like, the biggest moment to shout out the art style that they decided to use. Like, I could not love it more even if I said that. It's just so cool that they brought the comic book aspect to life, and it was such a simple concept, right? Like, you don't really think about it. Everyone does the CGI and the 3D and things like that, and it's just like, what if we just make comic book art into animation? Perfect. It worked so well, and it did such a good job because it's just like you're feeling like you're reading the comic for it gives you that sense of nostalgia for the people who did start with the comic, but then it also gives the, new world technology to get the youngins, and I feel 100 by saying that, but the youngins into it, you know?
Oh my goodness, yes. It is absolutely something. Not only I think that's one of the like as a fandom goes, there's like long-standing fandoms. Like there's Star Wars and there's Disney because they've been around for such a long time. And the same goes with comics, both on Marvel and like the DC side of things, is that there's always a good jumping in point no matter the age that the person is reading it. Like
Mhm.
I guess the only thing I'd say is ask, like, especially if you don't have someone that can kind of guide you into it, is asking a person at the comic shop and being like, "Hey, where should I start with this?" And there's always a great starting point for like a Superman, a Spider-Man, Captain America, like to get yourself into the series, and then from there, just getting to explore and really just dive into what the lore is of it.
Mhm. And I mean, gosh, once you're in, you're in. There's so much to explore.
So is your favorite like comic book Marvel character Miles, or do you happen to have like a different favorite?
So it was Miles for the longest time, and then I got introduced to Batman, and it just kind of went downhill from there. And I started to really enjoy the complexity behind villains when I got into Batman, because that's when I really started to have I my new favorite comic book character became Joker. And I was just like, "Oh, that's not a hero whatsoever." But he's so complex, and like I'm a big psychology junkie. And so just the Joker alone is he's like a well of a psychologist's nightmare, but it's just like so perfectly executed, and I appreciate it very much, and that's why I love reading his comics and where he's in it, and of course watching the movies as well. So it's kind of a I took a darker plunge in a favorite character, but I appreciated it for what it was, and not just because like I know like look at saying he's my favorite. It's like, oh my god, do you like psychopaths or something? It's like, no, I just appreciate the character development. I think it's really cool.
That is something I don't think I've ever heard anyone say, Joker is their favorite character, but
Hmm.
I will say that Joker is definitely one of those characters that makes you think,
Hmm.
especially with the different versions that they've had over the years of like Joker, whether it's in the movies or whether it's in the animated series or whether it's in the comic books, where you just never know, especially with who is writing that comic series, like what you're going to get out of the Joker.
Right.
And it's always going to be something that it may be just completely different than what you're expecting.
Hmm. Exactly. So he's like so crazy unpredictable. And that's what I like, because I love as a kid, I loved the mystery books when I was reading them. So like Magic Treehouse books, they had a little bit of mystery. um, so I love those kind of stories. And when I got introduced to him, like he's just a giant question mark. It's like, what's he gonna do next? Like he really has no bounds.
I dig that. I do. Uh, with Marvel as a whole,
Hmm.
like nowadays, are you still reading Spider-Man? Are you still reading Marvel comics, or have you kind of shifted into like the TV side of things or the movie side of things?
Definitely shifted to the TV and movie side. As an unfortunate adult, reading is a luxury rather than rather than something that I have all the time. Gosh, I'm so in my job, unfortunately, I do a lot of reading and a lot of reading for contracts. So like by the time I get out of work, I'm like, I don't want to read anymore. So I love the fact that a lot of the lore for Marvel has switched to video, and movies and shows. So I've definitely taken a switch to that.
I totally feel you. There was a time when I'd be able to read like 40 or 50 books in
Oh
a
yeah.
year. And now I think this year, even with all the stuff that's been going on,
Hmm.
I think I read a book. Just
Same.
one.
Same. Oh man, what is the book I read? What did I read? Oh yeah, I read Midnight Sun because it finally came out from Stephanie Meyer. I was
Okay.
like, I had to read that one because, of course, I read that when I was a teen, but I literally haven't read any other books in, God, a year. I've switched to audiobooks. Like, I'm not even, everything is either talked at me or I'm watching it.
Now for Marvel on the screen, whether it's little or big, like what's your favorite? What's got your attention right now? Or what is going to have your attention? Because what we're talking in 2020, and this episode is going to come out in 2021, but this year 2020, we had zero Marvel movies,
Hmm.
we had zero Marvel TV shows that we
Yeah.
were supposed to get on Disney Plus,
Hmm.
because I believe WandaVision has officially, at this point, by the time this episode comes out, maybe it'll be out,
Yeah.
is pushed to 2021 now. So that's a year after 10 years of Marvel being on a screen, gone.
Where we had absolutely nothing. Yeah. I will say my favorite of the cinematic universe. I have two. So Guardians of the Galaxy, I loved, love, love, love. I loved it so much. I cosplayed Gamora, and then Avengers, Infinity War. Like, I know that there was just, like, so much sadness in it, so much sadness, but it was so, like, I was constantly on the edge of my seat, and I also got to I was grateful enough to be able to see it with my closest friends who are just as big as nerds as I am, and so, like, we were emotional, sobbing in the theater, and but I we enjoyed it so much, and we went and back and saw it, like, 4 or 5 times. So, apparently we loved the pain, but I we really enjoyed that movie, and I really enjoyed it too. I've definitely rewatched it a bit, during this pandemic, so, that's one of my favorites up there.
I think I want to touch on Infinity War first, and then we'll go back to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
With Infinity War, I like that after all this time, because and it's been something that's always been a problem with the Marvel movies, is that
Mhm.
they have the villain, but then by the end of the movie, the villain is defeated
Right.
and sometimes even killed. So like you're not getting that villain back.
Right.
And with Infinity War, I loved that essentially, Thanos won. Like
Right.
he did what he set out to accomplish to do, and there was loss, and
Mhm.
there was that pain of dang, like for us, 10 years of movies with all of these characters, and they've never really had that loss before, and now you are having that loss of across the board with
Mhm.
these characters that you've grown to love since they first started coming out. It was incredible to see how that resonated across like the internet, especially with just people like, I can't believe this. I cannot believe like what you have done to me.
Yep. I know everyone came out, like, completely, like, "What just happened? What did I just watch?" Like, yeah, you and I love what you pointed out, like, you always had the trope of, like, "Okay, well, they're gonna win, great, woo," but that's not how it was initially, and that's not how the story was told even in the comic books, like, they didn't win. And there's a lot of times where they didn't win too. So it's like it gives it a nice, very human aspect. You don't win all the time. And sometimes you have to deal with loss. And that's what I guess actually now that I say it, I'm like, yeah, actually that's part of it why I really liked it because it made it more real, you
Hmm.
know, versus saying like, oh, well, they're gonna win, it is what it is. He's gonna win. And I'm like, come on. Thanos is like this hulking dude. He beat up the Hulk, okay? Like that was enough that something was gonna go down. So that's what it's really nice to see a human aspect and to kind of give it some more personability
Hmm.
when you're talking about heroes. Like not every hero is going to win all the time, and that's okay.
That's right. And on the flip side, you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy, and
Mhm.
as a longtime lover of the Marvel space side as far as comics books go, I remember when they made the announcement that they were doing a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and the resounding what? Why of all the characters, like why the Guardians of the Galaxy? And then of course a lot of that conversation was, well, are you doing like the 1970s Guardians of the Galaxy with like the
Right.
blue guy with the giant red mohawk Yondu, or
Mhm.
are you doing like the new version? And they went with Star Lord and Gamora and Drax and Rocket and Groot,
Mhm.
and went with them, which is a wonderful choice because I love where they could possibly set up for more space stuff in the future.
Mhm.
But holy cow, going to see that movie in the theaters and just walking away with, dang, like this movie is way better than anyone expected it to be.
Oh yeah. Hands down. Hands down. It was so much better. And the soundtrack alone, too. I was just like, "Whoa, this is amazing."
I was just about to mention the soundtrack. Like again, you have another property that is, you get the movie and the characters, and you're hitting like not only the comedic beats but the action, and a little bit of the drama in the first one, not too much,
Yeah.
but then you have that soundtrack and it just is wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, they did such a good job with telling the story, and not the way that you initially thought they would, but man, I walked away being completely satisfied. I was like, "This is so great! Cannot wait for the next one."
Yep. That and as we talk now, uh I think one of the movies that I am most looking forward to is not only Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which will be here at some point,
Yeah.
but I'm looking forward to the Thor movie because it has the Guardians of the Galaxy in it because they're going to be like the Asgardians of the galaxy.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I completely forgot about that. I am super stoked for all of that. Just because there's so many unanswered questions after the last Avengers movie. Like, especially with the Guardians of the Galaxy, we're like, what's going on?
Yes, not only like you have like Groot growing up, you have Gamora who's not the current Gamora, you got
Hmm.
Nebula who's now like super cool, you like I don't like Gamora, no, I don't like her, but then you kind of with Infinity War
Hmm.
and Endgame you're like, dang, you know what? I like Gamora or not
Yeah.
Gamora, not Nebula.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Nebula definitely had a great redemption, which was honestly super needed. Like I felt so bad for her, like they were telling her story about how she was essentially beat up just because she kept losing, but it's like survival of the fittest also, and you're just like my heart goes out to you.
Absolutely. Um, Out of curiosity, before we jump out of Marvel to a different part of the Disney verse,
Yeah.
what are you most looking forward to in the future that is Marvel? Whether it's like on the animated side, the movie side, what's got your eye to looking forward?
I'm very interested to see how they'll handle some kind of comic revivals going forward. Just because after Spider Verse, now my expectation is like woof through the roof. So like now I'm like, okay, what other comic books are we gonna bring in? And it's gonna be in comic book style. Are we gonna do Squirrel Girl? Are we gonna do her in comic book style? Because that'd be cool. What about like the Young Avengers? Are we gonna do that in comic book style? Like I'm kind of more excited for the comic animation coming forward.
Hmm.
uh, for them. But in regards to story, I'm definitely really excited to figure out what's going to happen with the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's my biggest question mark that I had, and I was hoping to get answered going into this year. But of course, everything's got put on the back burner. So I'm really excited to hopefully get a closed book on Gamora and Star Lord. Hopefully.
Now, in the grand scheme of the Disneyverse, we have Marvel, and the other major property that they have is Star Wars.
Hmm.
And you had made mention before we started of a specific Star Wars thing that you love, and that is the Mandalorian.
Yes. So good. It's honest I it's a Star Wars story that I didn't know I wanted, but I'm so glad it's here.
I feel exactly the same way, and I'm pretty sure I've said it on a few different episodes of when they announced it, I was like, no,
Right.
I don't like Boba Fett from the original trilogy. I'm not like a Jango Fett person from the prequel trilogy. And at the time, like I hadn't really watched Clone Wars
Mhm.
and gotten into like the Mandalorian side of things there. So I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that as the days led up to the Disney Plus launch, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not gonna get it. I'm just gonna wait like a little bit and get it. And then my friend, hooked me up
Mhm. Very
uh
nice friend.
and yeah, that first episode of just it's hard to explain. It's something that as a person doing this podcast and talking to people that love Star Wars, one of the things is we want Star Wars stories that aren't like Skywalker centric, that aren't Jedi centric all the time. We
Mhm.
want something out of the normal, and the Mandalorian hits it with it feels very much like a classic Western.
Mhm.
Um, it's very episodic where you get like a lot of these are standalone episodes, but then you have like the little ties that carry through.
Mhm.
And again, the music is
Yes.
phenomenal.
Agreed. Agreed. The music alone is just it just takes you on a journey. But I enjoy the whole kinda, like, Iliad aspect of it, like, he's just going on a mission, on a journey, and of course, like, I love the memes that are going around, they're like, "I'm just trying to return this child." "Okay, first you're gonna go on a mission." Um, but it's such a good storyline, and I mean, I'm a big Boba Fett fan. I've always been my my boyfriend does not appreciate that whatsoever. But I'm a big Boba Fett fan and I adore him. But my big thing when I first saw Mandalorian coming out, I was just like, there's no other better Mandalorian than Boba Fett. So like, why are we doing a story? But I'm so happy they did it because it's so well done, like incredibly well done. And I love the storyline so far. And of course, Baby Yoda, like, come on, we all adore him. I mean, if you don't adore him, I'm questioning. He's so cute. But it's such a good storyline, and I love all the new characters and the old characters that they're bringing in. Like, oh, and I haven't even watched Clone Wars yet. Like, I kind of put it off on the back burner, but now I'm like, okay, it's a must. I gotta watch Clone Wars, get up into the information that they have to offer because I need to get up to date on what's going on.
Yes, yes, indeed. It's something where like it's not required viewing, but there's obviously been characters that have shown up
Hmm.
in the series that tie directly to Clone Wars, and it's like, yeah, that's some pretty awesome stuff. And of
Hmm.
course, yeah, there's some characters that are coming up in the series that are going to be in the Mandalorian. So, I think. And tell me if you agree or not. But with the Mandalorian, I love that they tell just enough of the story to like finish the episode, but then they make you want more of from the first season where he's on like that like swampy planet,
Hmm.
and that woman is like the one woman in the village knows how to use like a laser rifle
Hmm.
or a blaster and is like blasting things, and the Mandalorian turns to her and is like, oh, like, oh, I can't believe you can handle that yourself. And like that's the thing that I love, is that you get these character moments where you're like, I want to know that person's story. Or from the
Hmm.
first episode of this season, like, give me a story about the Marshal. Like,
Yes.
I'd love to have like just a like a 5 episode mini series of just his story. Like it lends itself well to just being able to expand the universe in ways that the Skywalker series essentially was never able to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, honestly, we all love the Skywalker series, but we've heard it. We've seen it. We're here for it. But we also know how extensive the Star Wars universe is. So, I mean, yes, I agree. The Marshal, like, whoa. I know we got a little glimpse into his backstory, but come on, he's been there for so long. There has to be so many more stories about him. And then like, oh, I would love to have just so many more side stories of I completely forgot his name, but the mechanic in the beginning, of course,
Oh
like
yeah.
he's so great. Like he's just like, very bold, matter of fact. But I would love to know some more about him. I know he talked about it, but like, come on, he's a cool guy. Um, so I love that that's something that the Star Wars universe does and leans into actively. Like they just constantly are like, okay, you guys like this character? Let's go ahead and lean into the skid. Let's do something about this character, or let's bring them up, or maybe we foreshadow them in some way. Like
Hmm.
I think that's really really cool that they do, and they are handling it super well in Mandalorian, especially with like just bringing in characters from Clone Wars. So like it's really cool to see how they handle it because it's just kind of very seamless. And if
Hmm.
you and it's like if you don't really know it, you kind of get the gist of this is kind of an important character from a different place.
Absolutely. And it's just it's been incredible to see the excitement that like the Mandalorian has brought, especially after the drama that surrounded not only like Rise of Skywalker, but The Last Jedi, and even like pretty much like the extent all of the more recent movies.
Mhm.
It's nice to have something where the fandom in general is like, you know what, this is good. Like,
Yeah.
give us more of this.
Agreed. Agreed. It's so refreshing and to have it be heard, you know?
Absolutely. I know like we talked extensively about Marvel and
Mhm.
we've talked about Star Wars. It'd be remiss, and I'm pretty sure I'm checking my contract now that we have not actually mentioned anything Disney beyond that we both love Atlantis,
Oh, no,
which
Disney.
which Disney says is not something that we can really just like lean on by itself. So
Agreed. Yeah.
so Disney, like, you live here.
Mhm.
What Disney do you love? Like what are like the shows, the movies, the characters? Like what do you have beyond Atlantis?
Oof. I am a Disney file to the very deepest part of my soul. I I do so much things for Disney and buy so much Disney things. It is crazy. My family looks at me like I am odd. Um, but I adore a lot of their kind of forgotten movies per se, like Fox and the Hound. I love that movie. It's one of my favorites when I was a kid, and I
Hmm.
used to watch it all the time. Hunchback of Notre Dame, like a lot of people forget about that movie, and like of course because of cosplayers bringing back like Esmeralda and things like that, people are like, oh, forgot about that. Let me watch it. Um, but like staple Disney movies. My favorite one that I used to watch as a kid was Little Mermaid. I watched her all the time, sang it all the time. My mom probably very sick of hearing it. I'm pretty guaranteed. Um, but it I mean, I have every Disney movie. I'm just a big Disney person in general, so like I have almost everything. Journey to Atlantis, saw that stuff in movie theaters and I loved it. Have that on DVD. Lion King, love that. Have all of it, even the 1.5s. Like, I got you. But I like favorite character for Disney. That one can be a little hard just because it just depends on my mood.
Right.
There's so many to choose from. It's like, what are we feeling today? Do we feel more bookwormish? Then I'm going to say Belle. Or do we feel more strong, independent? Then I'm going to say Esmeralda or Kita. Um, so it just kind of varies. But I just love the whole like warm, fuzzy feelings that Disney always nails right on the head, no matter how old you are.
There is definitely something like you hit on like some of these movies that are forgotten, and of course I always mention Atlantis.
Hmm.
Hunchback is definitely one, and I watched that just a couple months ago because it had been a long time.
Hmm.
I remember seeing it in theaters, and I remember seeing it when it came out on like videotape or DVD,
Hmm.
way back in the day. But I watched it recently, and I was like, this movie is really dark for Disney. It
It
is
is.
it is one of those movies where you're watching, like, I'm watching it now, and I watched it when I was, I think, in high school, so I was
Hmm.
maybe 17 at the time. I'm watching it now as like a 40-year-old, and I'm like, wow, this crosses the line on some kind of levels with
Hmm.
what's going on.
Mhm. Exactly. So, like, it's so funny because, like, back in our day, it didn't seem like it was very, like, foretelling of anything, right? And then you watch it now and you're like, "Whoo, ah, right on the head, okay." Um, but it's still like, there's so many great songs that came out of it that a lot of people sing now, and they're like, "I have no idea where this is from." Like, okay, so they have, of course, the new Happily Ever After, fireworks at Magic Kingdom. And
Hmm.
then one of the songs is One Day Out There from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Literally, I was watching it with some of my friends and I could hear the teenagers behind me saying, "Wow, this is such a good song. Where is it from?" I literally like my mouth dropped open and I looked at my friends and I'm like, "Did you hear? Was I the only one who heard that?" I feel 1,000. How do you not know about Hunchback of Notre Dame? What? So, like, it's so crazy that all these things, like, now it's like it's a throwback for us, but,
Yeah,
for the kids now, they're like, "What is that? That's not
exactly.
Coco. Like, what is that?"
If it's not like tangled forward, it's not in their sphere of knowing about it really,
Right, right.
because like there was like a gap between, I mean, there was I'm trying to remember, like it was Tangled, Frozen, Moana, were
Mhm,
like that trilogy of like the newer stuff.
mhm.
But before that, it was like Princess and the Frog was kind of like that last really
Like,
animated
classic,
ish.
yeah, mhm.
So there's definitely a gap of generations with Disney, and of course, I think one of the great things with Disney Plus is people can find stuff and go back to like the early times, or the
Exactly.
times like in my high school years of watching Gargoyles and thinking, dang, this show is awesome and needs to be represented more. And hopefully one day gets like a really dark, gritty reboot of some kind. But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
me crossing my fingers. I did want to mention, because it was trending on Twitter today, and I'm saying this November 22nd of 2020. Um, it was trending on Twitter of which fictional characters would have voted for Donald Trump,
Mhm.
and the number one coming out of Disney was Gaston. And
Ooh.
I saw a comment saying, no, Gaston would have been like Kanye and voted for himself. Claude
Right.
Frollo, however, would definitely have been in line with voting for Donald Trump.
Exactly. That is 100% true. Yeah, cuz honestly Gaston I was just thinking it as you said it. I was like Gaston would have been running himself. Cuz everyone loves Gaston, so he's just going to do his own thing, you know?
Absolutely. One of the things that we've had, especially with like movies and companies such as Disney, with the current situation with the coronavirus pandemic, is having to change like a lot of the release schedule. And like we had coming out from them, we had Onward come to
Mhm.
Disney Plus, and I know that they just announced Soul
Mhm.
is going to be coming to Disney Plus too, just straight up, not having to pay extra for it. You just get to watch it and enjoy it. Do you have anything, like, I know Soul was like the next big like movie that was going to come out from Disney. Is there anything that you're kind of looking forward to this year, next year, of like what they might be coming out with?
Um, I mean, if the rumors are true, and kind of just because we both love Atlantis, can they please do a live action of Atlantis?
Oh my goodness. I want to take it a step further, because like their live action movies have been kind of hit or miss,
You know
but
what? You're right.
I would be
Mhm.
happy with a 10 episode, 45-minute to an hour long episode each of like a couple seasons of Atlantis, because it lends itself well for like at least 2 to 3 seasons.
Ooh, yeah.
Um and there are so many like great characters that you could cast for, that would be amazing. Thank you.
I agree, and I'm like, "If we could please make this a reality, I would appreciate it."
Like how big is steampunk now? And just imagine Atlantis like hitting on all of those levels, and
Right.
just it would be wonderful, not only for like the storytelling, but just imagine the costumes that they would be coming out with.
Right. Like, that would be so amazing, but then also, like, okay, in the midst of this pandemic, almost everyone, at least that I know, are becoming really outdoorsy people, so they're, like, hiking and love finding these, like, waterfalls and these hidden wonders and things like that, and I'm like, "Come on, that's playing into the arms of what we're into right now." But, I mean, kind of in line with hidden wonders, like, Rhea is gonna be really cool.
Oh my gosh, am so excited for that.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, I don't know about you. Did you get, like, kind of Korra vibes from her?
I did.
Okay.
I will say I think that kind of resonated across because I love Avatar and I
Mhm,
follow a lot of like Avatar specific cosplayers.
mhm.
But yeah, when that trailer came out, there was definitely like that ripple of wow, I'm getting like Avatar Korra like Avatar slash Korra vibes on what is going on in here.
Yeah, like, it's a really cool concept. I'm really excited to see how it really plays out because the trailer looks awesome, and, of course, I'm really excited for some representation for them. So, like, it's really cool to see how they're dipping into these different aspects to represent different cultures.
Hmm.
And this is one culture that I'm super interested in because I've always wanted to go to, like, kind of course, it's Eastern Asian, but it's more of like Nepal and things like that. So I'm like, I want to know about that. That stuff is kind of cool.
Right. I think the one thing, and I know there is like that controversy of who should be telling the story,
Hmm.
and as long as Disney hires the correct like directors and writers, and
Hmm.
I know that they have the voice actor in oh gosh, Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose Tico
Yes.
in Star Wars, doing the voice. But I always enjoy hearing about like how the the artists or the writers went to those locations for X number of months to talk to like the people that live there and
Yeah.
experience their cultures. Like that was one of the big things when Moana came out was
Right.
that they had gone to these islands and talked to the elders and learned like these stories about their culture.
Right. I agree. And I loved hearing about it also for like Frozen, for instance. Like that was really cool to hear them actually go out and learn about Northuldra. Like that's super cool. And to know that they actually put the time and effort in to tell it right. So, and to explain the lore and how, of course, they worship nature and things like that. I thought that was
Hmm.
so cool.
Absolutely. Now, I see that we have marked off enough of Disney that they're good with us. So we're going to switch gears completely to another kind of broad conversational topic, but I'm sure we'll definitely narrow it down as we get into it. Is is video games now? Video games have been around as long as I've been alive, plus a couple of years. I don't do it as much as I'm able to anymore. My kids do it though, but I don't. I don't get that fun time much. But how did you get into video games? What are your favorites? Like, where did you get your start?
Whew. All right. So I
Take me
started.
back.
I know. Let's roll it back. I started on Sega Genesis long time ago, playing the very, very difficult Aladdin game on the
Oh my
Sega
gosh,
Genesis.
Aladdin and Lion King. Let me
They
tell
oh
you.
my god. The hardest games in the world. My Lanta, like, I we actually it's really funny because we just what's the word? Where we are hacking our systems so that we can get the old games. I forgot what it's called because I'm old and it is what it is.
Hmm.
But but essentially we just hip jacked our computer to get to try to play these games again. And oh my god, it's still just as difficult as it was back when I was a kid. So, Aladdin on the Sega Genesis, if you anyone ever gets the chance to do it, challenge yourself. Go on that journey because it is intense. But that's where it all kind of started for me. And then it just kind of went downhill from there. I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog, of course. That was one of my big ones that I was on. And then let's see. God, there's so many that I did, but Sonic was a big one for a long time. Sonic and of course Pokemon were a really big one for me. Had it on my Game Boy. I was like, oh God, as I regale all of this stuff, I'm just like, I'm really not that old, but I guess I am.
It's funny that you say that. Like I was in high school when the Genesis came out, so
Mhm.
totally,
Yeah.
I feel you. Like I remember when the original Nintendo came out and how much, because we were living in Canada at the time, so it was like double the price, and we
Mhm.
drove to New York to get it one year for Christmas, and it's like just it blows me away how back then the Nintendo, like the original Nintendo, was $300, and
Mhm.
now you have things like the new Xbox for $300, and
Gosh, I
it's
know.
it blows my mind.
It really does, and I mean, and, like, handheld systems, for instance, right? Like the Switch. Like, I'm just like, "Wow, the Switch kind of." I mean, of course, it does so much more than what my Game Boy could have, but you know how much I paid for my Game Boy? Like, $60, like, maybe less than that, I think. Actually, less than that. Mine was a hand-me-down. So, like, it's just like, wow, these everything does everything now. So, but gosh, I spend way too much time playing video games. I like earlier today, I was playing Animal Crossing because I it's fall and I gotta get in with the season.
That's right. You gotta redecorate your island, and you
Mhm.
gotta catch the maple leaves and look for the mushrooms, and then
Yeah,
wonder why you don't get any DIYs at all for any of the stuff that you're getting, because I don't know.
I know. I literally as you say that, I'm like, that's literally what I was texting my friends about earlier, and I was like, "Okay, so I caught a leaf and a mushroom. What do I do with it?"
Nothing. You do nothing, because that is the one downfall, is they won't just I don't know what the problem is, but give me the DIY so I can make
Right.
stuff.
I just wanna know what I'm supposed to do with it. Otherwise, I'm gonna sell it.
You put it into your storage until you
Yeah,
can get a DIY for it.
until you absolutely need it. Go open that loan. You get a bigger house so you get more storage.
That's right.
So, I mean, I love games in general. It's such a nice escape, that I enjoy to do. Like, Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorites that I'll replay over and over again. But just recently, I've just been replaying Halo, Halo Reach specifically, because it's such a great game and it was so much fun and it's easy to do the campaign. So,
That is one of the franchises. It's always something that comes up whenever I talk video games, is I can't do first person shooters. There's just way too many controls, like, and then button combinations, and if I can walk sideways but be pointing my gun a different direction, and looking a different, and it's like I can't, like, I could do like the old school original Doom, where it was like
hmm
space bar to shoot and up down left right to walk, and that was it.
I know. Oh my gosh, the it definitely took some getting used to would be the nice way to put it. To get used to a first person shooter. Halo was my first person shooter. And then I got into other ones, but man alive, it was a lot of games where I'm just like, why am I looking at the ground? I don't understand. Why am I looking at the sky? What is happening? I wanted to go this way. Why am I looking? Oh gosh, it was so frustrating.
I feel you on such a level about that.
Yeah. It was just so complicated, but now I get it, and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, this takes some definite hand-eye coordination that they talked about in PE that I didn't have, but I now somehow have with video games." So,
That's
we
right.
get there one way or another, kind of.
Now, I know you talked about playing Animal Crossing and playing Halo, but like, what are, if you had like a top tier games of like, these are my games of all time, like I love them.
Mhm.
What's on your list?
Um, Pokemon Yellow. I will replay that till I die. Halo, specifically Halo ODST, I will constantly play that over and over again. The entire Kingdom Hearts, specifically the games for the PlayStation versions. Um, I have God, there's so much to Kingdom Hearts that it's hard to keep up with everything, but thankfully most of everything is on PlayStation, so we can finagle that. But those are my ones that are my go-to games. Like, if I'm really in the video game mood, I go through that list.
I feel you on that. On a especially like I love Kingdom Hearts.
Mhm.
I love that they like kind of mashed up Final Fantasy and Disney with some new characters and stuff
Mhm.
that's going on. I loved playing the first 10 minutes of the original Kingdom Hearts until I realized that I am still not good at like those action adventure type games
Oh,
because yet
yeah.
again, combination buttons and fighting and being in the correct I need my people to stay still
I
like in
know.
Final Fantasy to just let me tell them what to do
Give me
and
my
then they
turn
do it.
style fighting.
I need my turn based gaming, but
Mhm.
it is definitely one of the things where especially with Twitch where I have really enjoyed getting to watch people
Mhm.
play Kingdom Hearts that are way better at it than I ever could be
Yeah.
and getting to see the story that way. Granted, the story is absolutely confusing to the point where I've gone on YouTube deep dives and reading these like theories and going really like in depth, and I still am like
Mhm.
I don't get it and
Mhm.
I don't understand.
Oh, yeah. It's so complicated because it's like just to give everyone a little snippet of how complex this freaking lore is. It's like, okay, you played the first Kingdom Hearts. Great. Now you have to play 365/28 days, which when it first came out was only on the Nintendo DS, which for those who don't know what it is, it's the before everything that now is the Switch. So okay, so like Nintendo DS was the leg up from a Game Boy Advance, and so you had to play that, and that game was a kind of in between game before you got to Kingdom Hearts 2. And if you didn't play that game, you were very confused as to how Sora got to where he was in Kingdom Hearts 2. And it just is a whole thing on top of that after that. So like you got like four other games that were like slight prequels to Kingdom Hearts 2, and ugh, it's a whole it's a whole mess. So I do not blame anyone for being super confused by it. I am constantly going to my brother and saying, "Okay, what did I miss? Where did this person come from?" It is so complex, but I mean, it's just kind of another game series that I love, Final Fantasy. I adore them, but they are just as complex. Like they're
Oh,
just as crazy.
yes, yes, indeed. I love my Final Fantasies, and I have a certain love for like certain of the versions, and
Mhm.
then there's some where I'm like, yeah, I don't really like it, but I still love that they have like these contained stories, and I think
Mhm.
that's the one thing is that for the most part, what you get, except with like Final Fantasy VII, because there's like 500 Final Fantasy VII titles,
Yes.
um, but for the most part, once you're done with the game, like that's pretty much it. Like you've got the story and the
Mhm.
lore, and there's nothing else going on. Uh,
Exactly.
but with Kingdom Hearts, and I think with Kingdom Hearts, and thank goodness that they were able to port like everything basically onto the PlayStation. But
Mhm.
to have games across multiple systems, like the DS, the PSP, the PlayStation,
Mhm.
and then to be like expecting everyone to be caught up on that plus like I don't know if there's like other stuff that you needed to watch or movies or something
Oh,
it's just
yeah.
a lot of stuff.
Exactly. Like, honestly, they're really outdoing themselves with Kingdom Hearts. Like, whew, it is crazy.
Now with we're talking again. I like to repeat it just in case people are listening. We're talking in November, and we've got the new systems are out: the PlayStation 5, the
Mhm.
Xbox Series X/S, depending on what you're going for. Do you happen to have one? Are you going to get one?
Yeah, so I actually have the Xbox Series X. So that was we got the mini fridge. Yes. Um, we missed out on getting the PS5 just because the launch was such a
Hmm.
mess. Darn you, Walmart. So, honestly, we haven't had a chance to get it, but with all of the issues here in November 2020, all the issues that the PS5 is having, I'm okay with not having it right now.
Right.
I'm okay with waiting until we fix all the issues and then I'll get one. I'm not in any rush.
My wife asked me today because one of her coworkers was looking for a PS5,
Mhm.
and she's like, "Do you want one of the like? Do you want like one of these new systems?" I'm like, I'm not really like needing any like. Uh, I'm to the point now where I barely have time to do like 20 minutes on Animal Crossing,
Mhm.
so it's more of a I don't really need it. And we had an Xbox 360 and like that got hit by lightning. So
Oh,
that got taken out.
no.
So we lost that. We have like the PS4, we have the Switch. We don't really need one.
Mhm.
I've got like the like mild FOMO of just like, oh, I'd really love to have like an Xbox just because I have a ton of like Xbox 360 games lying around and nothing to do with them.
Right.
I'm not sure how backwards compatibility works on that system, but
It's
I've
getting
got the
better.
games. I
Yeah.
don't know,
It's getting better in a way, kind of.
but it's fascinating to see like the divergent like of course like Xbox and Sony are doing like the whole they've got like the games that are specific to their consoles and then
Mhm.
eventually like they'll maybe cross over and they're all like about the technology standards, but it's interesting to see that Microsoft is going in such a direction with like the Series S where you can like make payments on it, like
Yeah.
$25 a month for 2 years or something, and then like you've got the game system. That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's something that's really cool that to finally see it getting rolled out here. Like, so I work for a travel company, so I'm like constantly learning about different payment styles everywhere. And like one of the major payment styles in like Latin America is through payment. Like, and I at first was just like, well, that's a little odd. But then I was like, actually, that makes so much sense. Like, why wouldn't you like most people who travel from Latin America save up the entire time to go on this one big trip? So I was like, actually, it makes more sense to be able to pay something off little by little, and now a lot of people, I mean, globally are adopting that kind of payment style, so it's really cool to see that, especially for, like, these big devices, like, it's so expensive. No one I mean, barely anyone has this available to be able to just whip it out and pay for it, you know?
Mhm.
So, it's nice that they're kind of catering to who their demographic is. It's people who are literally scrounging their money together just to get this console.
Absolutely, and it's something where if you're looking at it, like it's really opening up access to people who could never like afford to save the 300 the $500 where they can do the $25 a month. And I believe because I'm not familiar with the latest stuff with Xbox is that you can pay like a $20 monthly payment and you have access to like a game library where
Right.
you don't even have to buy games, like you have games on hand.
Yeah. So like it's a really cool thing because I mean it's really bringing games within reach to people.
Hmm.
Because I mean there's so many kids who want to be able to play these games, you know, and do these things, but you know it's expensive. There's so many things that are much more important to pay for. But now you have the ability to for it to be a little bit more affordable and manageable.
Absolutely. Like I could totally manage a like $50 payment a month versus let me try and save up, you know, for that like big plop of money and then and then to go from well dang, now I need to get a game or like
Right.
another controller, like
Right. Like I don't have that money right now.
just stop with all the accessories. I can't do it.
Right. Oh gosh, it's so much.
All right. Well, now we get to talk about the awesome thing that led me to you, which is through the power of cosplay.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Again, you had been recommended by Brooke, Tatted Khaleesi. But when I stumbled or when I was given your name and I was like looking over, I was like, dang, like it's one of the things that I love about cosplayers is the wide breadth of characters that people like, you know, invest time, money, sweat,
Oh yeah.
blood, tears, resources into doing these characters.
Mhm.
Um, so I always love to lead off with like how did you get into cosplay? Why did you get into cosplay?
Yeah, so actually, funnily enough, Guardians of the Galaxy. I went and watched the movie with a friend. And the day after we because we were coworkers at the time, we were having lunch, and she was like, I've always seen you as somebody who cosplays." And I was like, I've always wanted to do it, but I'm so scared because I don't want to do it wrong and people make fun of me." At the time back when I started, that was kind of the unfortunate climate of being a cosplayer. Like if you weren't doing it right, you were doing it wrong and you were getting
Mm.
bullied for it. So I was like, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want people to kind of come down on me for something that I enjoy. And then she was just like, "Just do it. Do it. Cosplay because you would be great at it and you're gonna have fun. Just go ahead and do it." And I was like, "Well, who should I do?" And she's like, "Gamora. We just watched Guardians of the Galaxy. Just do Gamora." And I was just like, "But that's gonna be so hard." But she kept pushing me and I did it. I went out there. I literally spent almost every weekend for a month at MAC Cosmetics asking them questions about how to body paint myself and how to do it right, to make sure that it looks good, and that it would last. And here I am, the same year that Guardians of the Galaxy showed up, and I did it in a matter of 4 months, literally stressing the entire time, rolling out my first ever cosplay as Gamora, somebody you have to full on body paint and be in a tight pleather outfit. And I
In Florida, no less.
in Florida, no less. Exactly. Guys, when you body paint in Florida, you melt after 20 minutes and it sucks because you do 3 hours of work for 20 hours of glory. 20 minutes of glory, not hours. um, but it was just such a different dynamic than what I had seen because I had been going to cons for like 5 years prior to me actually cosplaying. So it was really cool to see people be like, "Oh my God, you're Gamora. This is so cool. You look phenomenal. Your paint is amazing." And I'm just like, "Thank you. I worked really hard on this." And it was, I think, the real big turning point as to how I got super hooked is there was this little girl who ran up to me, and I have a picture of her on my personal page, but she ran up to me, and she had a Gamora shirt on, and she hugged my leg, and I didn't see her because, of course, I'm being super careful not to touch people because I'm in paint, and
Right.
and I turn around and I see her, and she's like, "Gamora, you're here. I knew you'd be here." And I was just like, "Hi, how are you?" And then she's just like, "You are the coolest person in the world, in the galaxy." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." Totally not in character whatsoever, but and then she's like, "Can I please get a picture for you with you? You're my favorite." And then as we're posing in our badass like knuckles up, like we're about to go kick some butt, and then after we're done with the picture, her dad comes up to me and he's just like, "She absolutely adores you, by the way. I just want to make sure that I make that known. She watched Guardians of the Galaxy the night before because she was so excited because she might get a chance to see a Gamora. So you've literally made her day." And I was like,
Aw.
"Oh, this is the best thing ever." And so that's always been my favorite part about cosplaying, especially when I go to cons. Like, the kids that get to go there. Like, to anyone who's listening, like, you really wanna bring your kids to their favorite character, bring them to a comic book convention. Like, they're going to enjoy it so much. So many of their favorite characters will be there in real life for them to actually talk to. Because it's such a cool experience for them to see their favorite characters there, you know?
Mhm.
And that's what got me hooked. And I was like, "You know what? I love doing this because if I can make it somewhat real to a little kid, then it's all worth it. Like the blood, sweat, tears, stress, money, blah, blah, blah. It's so worth it when you have a little kid who just comes up to you and say, 'Oh my God, you're my favorite.'"
That is incredible. My kids are older now to the point where like they'd be like, whatever. I know that's not like the real person. Um, I think if they were younger, they would have gotten a kick out of it.
Hmm.
But we've taken them to our local Orlando convention, MegaCon, the big one.
Hmm.
Um, their feet they can't survive even just walking around for a couple hours. Like, granted, I mean, I after like 5 or 6 hours of me wearing like decent shoes and not really being anything but my normal schlubby self, um, I'm pretty much done, especially on the Saturday where you're doing the Saturday
Oof.
shuffle all through like everywhere.
Oh, yeah, Saturday's the worst. It's our big day here.
Yes. Um, we try to go on Sunday if we go as a family, and
Mhm.
then and try to like hit up Artist Alley and a few other things. But
Oh, yeah, for sure.
um, with cosplay, now that you and how long have you been doing it for? What, 5 years
Yeah,
maybe?
5, almost 6 years. Mhm.
Okay, so you've had a number of years under your belt.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite? And like I know that that's like a ridiculous question because you spend so much time doing with working with the costumes that you eventually get to wear and take pictures and everything. But is there one where you're like, dang, like I can't believe I did this, and this is like my accomplishment of I have done this. Look at me now.
Yeah. Um, uh, there's 2.
Okay.
And I know it's like I should have just 1, but there's 2.
No, it's okay.
So Gamora definitely, especially for when the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out. I actually commissioned a lovely, 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 lovely person, who unfortunately no longer has an Etsy shop, but I commissioned this lovely person to make my jacket for Guardians of the Galaxy because at the time Guardians of the Galaxy literally had just came out and no one was making this jacket for Gamora. No one else was making it. And no one made her leather vest as well. Like I had to make almost everything from scratch for that outfit. And I was so crazy proud of it because it was the first costume that I literally had to scrape and scrunch for to put it together.
Hmm.
And the fact that it came together and it was so well done and I felt very like accomplished because I was like I set out to be Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and I did it. So that one I'm super, super proud of. And then Sombra from Overwatch is another one I'm really, really proud of. She was a character that I was kind of worried about doing her just because it was really hard to find her pieces. I am not a very crafty person. Let me forewarn. um, I'm getting better, but I'm not amazing. So Sombra, there was a lot of things that I had to handcraft myself, like specifically for like her headgear. And I can tell you so many countless sleepless nights just trying to get this put together so that it looks good. And then, of course, when it all came to fruition and I show up at MegaCon and all these little kids are like, "You're Sombra, you're my main. I love your character." And I'm like, "You made me. Yay." So, those are my 2 favorite cosplays that I've ever done, and that I'm the most proud of. And as of course I go on and I do more cosplays, of course the list just keeps getting longer. Um, but I also really loved as like my third is Kita. Kita's like been my all-time favorite Disney character for a very long time. And to actually bring her to life was so fulfilling because she doesn't get enough love and I adore her. And she's just so like she's just so warrior princess. Like she's just gonna come in, take control of a situation. She's gonna lead you to salvation. And that's why I was like, I have to do her right. I have to make sure that it comes out great. And it was one of the few costumes that I sewed majorly myself with my hands. So that's another one to be proud of.
That is awesome. I was scrolling through today and I was like, "Oh, that looks like Mal from the Descendants." And I was like, "Wait a minute. No, that's not Mal from the Descendants. Like just because they're wearing purple doesn't mean that they're the same character."
Hmm.
So I pulled it up because I'm not too familiar with Overwatch because first person shooter game. But I did I mentioned like your Tiana was
Hmm.
awesome and your Miles, and I
Thank
love Kita. I do want to say there. Where's the one I'm trying to find? I loved like your Disney bound of Esmeralda.
Oh,
Like
thanks.
that was cool. And where's I'm trying to find the other one. Maybe I'm just like pretending that it existed.
I don't know, there's
I mean,
so many, right?
you did Moana.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, your Birds of Prey. Black Canary was
Yeah.
awesome. That's just straight up, awesome. And I'm excited to see what you do because you just started with Cora as of like a couple days ago. You posted like the first picture, so I'm
Mhm.
excited to see you finish that one up and get some cool shots in. But I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm it's been really cool now that I've have the home time to be able to commit to it. I have nothing but time, right? So it's been nice to be able to get these cosplays out a lot faster than I honestly typically would. I literally would I would list out 3 cosplays that I wanna do for the year, and those would be it. Like, that I would never do anything more than that. But, man, a lot like, just this year alone, I've whipped out, like, God, I wanna say, like, 4 new ones, and I have, like, a few more new ones that I'm planning before the end of this year, and I'm like, "Okay, woo, we are on a journey."
That is something that I've seen a lot across the board. Is just a lot of people are a lot of cosplayers are now in the stage of, well, I guess I can finish the cosplays I'm
Mhm.
working on or start the new ones and then hope to wear them next year. But then I think like a lot of others have been like space has been an issue. I've noticed that a lot of cosplays have been being put up for sale, like
Oh, yeah.
to be like, okay, you know what, let's go. I'm not going to wear X, Y, and Z again. Let's sell these to make rooms and get some money for like new things for maybe 2021.
Mhm. I was actually looking at an IKEA wardrobe so that I could put all of my cosplays in there. Because I was just all of my cosplays at the time were just living out of an empty suitcase that I would only use when I'm traveling. So I was just like, I don't have that many right now. Like at the time, I was just like, I got like what 5, 6, and they all fit in the suitcase. It's fine. Now I have like 12, 15, and I'm like, ooh, y'all don't fit in the suitcase, and I don't have room in my room for it. So now I need a wardrobe. So space is definitely a challenge especially a cosplayer in a pandemic. It's like, where are we putting this, guys? We don't have unlimited storage, and yet we are constantly coming out with new content. And so I'm just like, ooh, I gotta find a place for this. And soon, hopefully, we'll have a actual cosplay room eventually. That's the dream. But as of right now, we're working out of a suitcase.
You got to do what you got to do on that.
Mhm.
I know you mentioned the list. You've always got the list of
Mhm.
what you'd love to do. Like, what's the one like your grail of like cosplay of this is the one I want to do. Like, I like your goals of cosplay goals. Like, which character is up next of what you want?
So, next, and because I have been putting it off for years, is Katara. Um, I have been wanting to do Katara from Avatar for so long, and I just never did it because I was I just was very finicky about it. Like I wanted to make sure that I got the hair loopies right. And so I looked extensively into wig tutorials. And then I for some reason, I don't know why, I talked myself into wanting to make it by hand because I wanted her costume to be handmade. And I was like, I don't know why I decided to torture myself that way. Why am I doing this? But I have the sewing machine and the supplies, and I'm gonna try, because I said I wanted to try. So if I mess up, then I'll order a costume. But it's worth it to try first. Um,
Absolutely.
but Katara is definitely like my next like target. I want to do her because I've been saying that I would and I haven't, and I definitely adore her character. I resonate with her so much because I'm totally the mom of my friend group too. I do the same things that she does in the show where she babies everybody and moms everybody, and so um I I am going to give her her time of day, hopefully.
That is awesome. I know one of my friends had just asked me, like she gave me a list of fandoms, and she's like, "Pick your number one," and it was like a tough list, like
Hmm.
coming out of the gate, and I was like, "Okay." And in fact, I'll read it to I'll read it because it's just a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Um, I said, gosh, Avatar: The Last Airbender, across the board with story, setting, characters, representation, comedy, pain, suffering, drama, Sokka, and cabbages. Who can deny that winning combination of things?
Sokka and cabbages. Roll credits, everybody. That is it.
Now, with your Katara,
Mhm.
just out of curiosity, like, do you have a particular Katara? Because she does get a few
She does.
costume changes throughout the 3 years of that we get to hang out with her as Katara before she becomes in Korra older Katara. But
Hmm.
is it just like first season? Is it more like a Fire Nation Katara, or what you got?
So I do also want to do Fire Nation Katara, but she's second on the list. So I do want to do a second season Katara. So it's more of like the short sleeve water tribe outfit. More of like a summer or
Because
summer outfit. Because
we're in Florida.
we're in Florida and we're not trying to die. Um, so that's the one that I would like to do. So essentially, it's like these short, like quarter sleeves coming on her bicep, and then it's like fur trim on the bottom, and then she's got like blue leggings underneath. And so I'm just like, oh, that seems perfectly good for Florida. I would be comfortable, so I'll choose that one. Fire Nation Katara is next on the list after that. I would love to do that as well. She just has so many outfits.
She does. I know that there's a cosplayer I follow who has run through, I think, almost all of Katara and Sokka's different outfits, and it's like there's so like you don't think there is, but there's so
No.
many.
I know, and like, it's so crazy to have a show that does that, you know? And you never took a moment to really appreciate it until you start seeing, like, other shows that really actually change outfits for their characters, and you're just like, "Oh, that's actually really cool," because, yeah, they should be changing outfits depending on the season or where they are, or if they're trying to hide from people, like, that's really cool, so now you get to dress up from, like, all these different kinds of times, like, Gamora doesn't just have this one, the assassin's outfit, she has a jacket, she can do a tank top. She also has this like off the shoulder black thing. And it's it's really nice to have kind of that dynamic because you can just kind of do whatever.
Absolutely, you can go wherever you want with them.
Mhm.
Now, our time has sadly come to an end,
Ah,
and it has been such a pleasure getting to talk to you, Zemi, tonight.
you
And
too.
I would love, if people have made it to this far, where can people go on the great wide world of the internets to find you, to give you the follow, to comment on your stuff, to watch you? Where can they go?
Absolutely. All right. So on Instagram, we are Lady Zemi _cosplay. And then also, if you like funny videos or reenactments, you can follow me on TikTok. So it's actually the same handle. So at Lady Zemi _cosplay as well. Unfortunately, I don't do anything other than that because I'm a pretty simple girl. Uh, but if you loved a little quirky girl who loves to cosplay and complain about how she has to craft a lot of things from scratch, follow me and join me on this journey.
Like I have, because
Yeah.
it has been fun to get to see all the stuff that you come out with on on your posting basis, when especially like now, like you got to make sure that you're safe, and
Yes.
photography, and lots of people doing a lot of self photography lately, so
We're all getting really good at it.
but I wanted to say, Zemi, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to hang out with me and talk with me about the things that you love, because I had a great time, and I am super excited for people to get to listen to your episode come January.
Yeah, I'm so excited to meet everybody in January. Thank you so much for this opportunity. This was so much fun.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Tales from the Fandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.